Good morning, everyone. How are we? Today I want to start with the scripture from 2 Corinthians 4, verses 5 through 10. This is read from the New International Version. For what we preach is not ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, and ourselves as the servants to Jesus for that sake. It was God who said, "Let the light shine out of darkness," made his light shine in your hearts, and gave you the light of knowledge of God's glory, and display it in the face of Christ. But we have this treasure in these jars of clay. This shows that the all-surpassing power of God is not from us, but from God. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, abandoned, but not struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around us in the body the death of Jesus, as well as the life, so that it also may be revealed in your body. Now this reading comes from Apostle Paul. He writes to the church of Corinth that encourages them in a time of persecution and distress. He speaks to each Christian, as is the whole of the church. They are the jars of clay in which this treasure has been placed. The treasure, we know, is the gospel. Though those jars can be cracked and broken, the treasure agrees to be placed. In fact, sometimes as the jars have to be broken in order for the treasure to pour out and bless others. Paul notes that their ability to endure and abide, despite their fragility and their vulnerability, gives testimony to the power of Jesus Christ's treasure, the gospel, that it contains. And it is not their own power which they proclaim, but it is the power of Jesus Christ. Now, the reason this scripture seems to be so important to me right now is I've seen the church, I've seen it hold those vessels, that scripture, that word, the gospel of Jesus, and they hold on to it so tightly that sometimes we forget how to deliver that message. Now I consider myself as part of this testimony. I too became broken. As you well know, I had a stroke on the 3rd of August. 1 month, 1 day. Now, last year I preached upon change, challenging the church to look outside their box and to make changes. And part of that change being the model of a change as a paradigm. I am now that model. I am a paradigm because change has happened within me again. Last year, we shaved my head. We raised money for the youth group. That change I had control over. You too, as a church, can make changes that are within your control and will become quite noticeable. Everyone that's seen me knew I was the same Dan Burton, but yet some treated me differently because I looked differently. I quite don't understand that. I try not to judge others as I see them. Handicapped, different, pink hair, blue hair, whatever the case may be. But yet some had treated me different simply because I changed my looks. This year, I have no control. This year, change came unexpectedly. As many of you know, I worked hard on keeping my health up. I was controlling my diabetes. I was controlling my fibromyalgia. But then tragedy struck. Well, I take that back. It's not tragedy. It was meant to happen. I own this stroke. I own the differences that now I am faced with. Back in 1986, there was a movie, Heartbreak Ridge. There was a guy in there by the name of Highway. He was one of the characters. And he said, "We are Marines, sir. We are paid to adapt, improvise, and overcome." That's the title of today's sermon, and or testimony, however you choose to look at it. Improvise and adapt and overcome has become my thought process. On the Saturday following my stroke, my wife at my side in the bed at the hospital witnessed me go through a traumatic seizure. It lasted for a little over an hour or so, I'm guessing, I'm not sure, but terrible, terrible pain, terrible. I was ready to say goodbye at that time because I thought this was it. But after the doctors came in and noticed what was going on and gave me some medicine, 4 hours later, I'm sitting up in bed like nothing had happened. At that time, though, after everybody left that evening, I laid in bed and I had a conversation with myself. Again, get honest with yourself and find out what is truly important. And at that moment, I said to myself, I own this stroke. I love it. It's mine. How am I going to take something so negative in most cases to become as positive as I possibly can? I'm not one to just lay there. I wanted to get up. I wanted to fight. But I couldn't. For 3 or 4 days, I had nothing, no ability to do very little. But I remembered that one line that Highway said in that movie, adapt, improvise, overcome. I'm here because of that. And to go back to last year's sermon when I talked about change, adapt, improvise, and overcome definitely brings on change.